So the first example that we show here is really the best representation we can provide of how companies are using preference centers and preference management within traditional media, the way that they're using sales agents, and in this case, the way that they're specifically using a CRM. What we're showing here is actually Salesforce.com CRM. I'm sure a lot of you use Salesforce. And what we're representing is the ability to reflect the most up-to-date preference options for a customer from across an enterprise. So it could be that this person opted out of a phone number up there, the first phone number that's listed, in a call center type operation. It could be they opted out on the other because it's on a national or state do not call list, and that they've opted in via email to another program. So while those are collected from across the organization, they can be represented in a single interface here. It's important that we do that. Next, we heard from Tim at Intuit earlier. They took a big step, as he talked about, by implementing an opt-down strategy. This is their public-facing website where they give their customers the ability not only to collect that general unsubscribe, but to give more granular options to say, not only here's what I'm not interested in, here's what I want to opt out of, but here's what I am interested in. And so at that point of opt-out, where a person may have received a message that wasn't relevant or that wasn't timely, we can now reclaim that into our marketable population and know more about them, know how they want to be communicated with. And what we realized in doing this, of course, is that there's an opportunity to be much more proactive and to get it right the first time and to take a look at where we're engaging these customers across their customer experience to understand how they want to be communicated with. This is another good example, too, of how we can give a number of different options for people that want to opt out. Beyond unsubscribe, this is an example, and we're going to look at this one in particular a couple times, but where we give the opportunity, 1, to manage subscriptions, 2, to unsubscribe if that's what they want to do, or 3, change their email. In a lot of cases, again, we see organizations that are limited and can only manage one email address at a time, but for those that can manage multiple email addresses, it represents a huge opportunity for them, because if so many consumers are like me, I have one email address where I prefer to get my billing information, another with personal interest of mine, another with business related interests, so all those are relevant. Facebook, we've talked a lot about social media as well. This is a highly relevant channel, but one you have to be careful with, of course, but does represent a significant opportunity here too. And what we're talking about specifically with launching a preference center is the ability to take a step beyond a like and actually monetizing a like. And instead of just using this highly relevant channel where your customers are incredibly engaged for a push, using it for a pull as well. Launching a preference center through Facebook in particular and using their web services APIs makes a lot of sense. Again, where you can collect information through this relevant channel about other channels where they want to be communicated with. And speaking of Facebook, there are certainly some things that they do to get it right. Phil talked earlier about how they have currently over 800 million users worldwide. And this is an example of how they make it personal at the point of unsubscribe for them. Unsubscribe for them, of course, is an account deactivation. They take the information that they do know about you when you go to deactivate your account, and they're saying, here, are you sure you want to deactivate your account? Your 513 friends will miss you. Maggie, Kate, Shelly, and they're showing their pictures. So again, just a way that you can make that more personal and hopefully increase some retention. Mobile's important too. Of course, there are some implications around mobile, how we're deploying preference centers through this highly relevant channel, but certainly just another touch point that we can leverage to collect more valuable information about our customers. It's important in B2B too. A lot of what we talked about is B2C. Especially because there are so many privacy considerations that regulate the way that we manage this privacy and preference data, but it's especially important in B2B. And in a lot of scenarios, B2B customers and B2B prospects are willing to share more information about their program-specific preferences than they would in a more personal environment, in a consumer environment. So this is an example of Dell's Global Subscription Center. They're managing preferences across about 63 countries, doing a great job in doing that. again, at a very granular level, being able to understand how their customers want to be communicated with. Next, this is a good example of an email preference center. Of course, content management is key as well. We've talked about that some. We've got a number of content providers that Eric can subscribe to if he wants to and receive relevant information that's from them. And once you get into that environment, there's even more. We've talked some about frequency and how important that is. Do you want our daily digest? Do you want to hear from us daily? Or is weekly or monthly better for you? And what type of information is most relevant?